Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Ryan Dewey and Mike Garrett. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Great. Doing great. Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into it. It's been a while. I reached out to you guys because I just saw what you were doing. I was super excited about it as a former ice tub guy, buying hundreds of pounds of ice and throwing it in a trough. Then I saw what you guys were doing and the price point and everything else. And I've been testing out your product now for, I feel like it's been a month, maybe right around that time frame. And I have a lot to say about it and all good things, just so, because we didn't talk about it beforehand, so don't worry. But I want to kind of throw it to you guys, introduce a new product, and not only a product to everyone who's listening, because this is not like a paid sponsorship. I like to be very clear with anyone listening. I get excited about products like this, not only because of they're filling a hole in the marketplace, because of the health benefits associated with making this more accessible and easier. Like I said, the ways I was doing it in the past, very cumbersome, hard to do on a regular basis. And you guys are kind of helping with that. But I'm going to throw it to you guys for a little background first on how you guys got started. And if you want to go before that, even kind of what you guys were doing and how this kind of maybe the partnership started, why a cold plunge in general. I'll throw it to you guys.
I want to talk about what we were doing and how we met.
Yeah, so Mike and I both separately, not in business together, but own float therapy facilities, sensory deprivation tanks, facilities in Northern California. He's out of San Francisco Bay Area, 3 out of there. I have 2 up in the Sacramento region. And how we both met was, I remember, this was back in 2014, 2015. This was a very newer concept. There weren't many places at all in California, let alone anywhere. And I remember I was just about to quit my job, and I saw a guy in San Francisco start, his own facility. So I remember I hit him up on Twitter. I was like, dude, this is crazy. We got similar stories, and didn't hear back from him. He was in the midst of a build out, and I was further behind in the process, but I remember he got open. This was March of 2015. April 2015, right there. I drove down to San Francisco, walked in, Mike's sitting behind the front desk, and we just hit it off. I was like, I'm going to start a float center, and he had already opened, and we became fast friends through that. He came up when I got open. I was bouncing ideas off him through the craziness of the build out and the construction. And then over the next 5 years, we became really close friends, like, best buds, due to just aligned values, Burning Man and different festivals and things that we were going to together. We did a big nonprofit campaign with MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. We raised money for them through floating. So we just got like this front and center opportunity to work together. And I think we knew deep down we were going to do something together eventually. And then things aligned. He actually decided to move to Sacramento pre-pandemic, and he moved in April of 2020.
Yep. April last year, moved up to Sac, and then COVID hit the planet, shut down our businesses, and Ryan moved out of his apartment house and bought an RV and lived the RV life. And then I started looking into. So I had built a chest freezer and had been doing that for a couple of years, and that had just become a total game changer. Just gave me so much more energy in the morning, I felt so much more myself earlier in the day, just mentally in a better mood, way more productivity, So I was addicted. I was super into the cold. At that point, Ryan was into the cold. You're more like chasing cold rivers and streams up here near Tahoe. And then I looked into what was out there for sale, and everything was like $10,000, and it just seemed crazy that there was nothing cheaper. And so I had built a float tank from scratch before, so my dad's super handy. I've built stuff before, so I flew out to Arizona to visit my dad, and we basically started making prototypes in his garage. And yeah, came back to Sacramento, basically found the kind of tubs that you see that we use currently, and that really changed it and iterated it. And I ended up selling two to some of my customers at our spa at Reboot. And then I showed Ryan, and it eventually got to a point where he was like, dang, like, this is sick. He was like, what you built is incredible. And when I first even started to make cold plunges, I was either going to make a couple for my spas, or if I launched a business, I was going to have a co-founder, because at my current business, it was just me. And so whether it was Ryan was my top choice. And so I was going to do it with someone. Thankfully, Ryan agreed to come on board, because our partnership has just been awesome. We rarely like disagree, for somehow we have like very similar visions, but also do completely different things. Like, I'm the tech guy, technology, engineering, design. He's people, sales, people, customer service, and we both have our own zones. So that's been beautiful. But yeah, we started selling them. We did like a limited run of 20 in last September, and sold them out in like a month or so, and then started building out of my garage. And outgrew the garage, moved into the back of the bike shop. That lasted like a month, and then we moved into a facility over here. Outgrew that in a couple of months, and then we moved kind of next door, where we have kind of a really big 10,000 square foot facility where we're building them now. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been crazy. It's been great.
Yeah, and I mentioned you guys before we got started. You guys have done a phenomenal job from a business standpoint, and it could just be the product itself, but like everyone's picking one of these up as far as people I'm seeing on social media and everything. And I think what you mentioned, like I had previously looked too at other options, and I was like, seriously, $10,000 for cold plunge. So I just stuck with it. I was like, I'll get an I'll pick up ice, 100 pounds of ice, and then throw it in there. But that limited me to doing it like at best once a week, probably once a month in reality, when you're talking about actually going to get the ice and doing it. So I did want to hit on the DIY option, because you talked about a chest freezer. I've had a few friends do that. And it was actually my friends doing that made me not want to do it. Do you guys have any good, bad, ugly on the chest freezer option if someone is thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, I used it for a couple of years. The water gets really gross really fast. So if I'm a pretty dirty dog. Like, I'll get in there when it looks a little scummy. But draining it is actually cumbersome. There's no way to easily hook up a hose. It's really difficult to really get any kind of decent filtration going in the water. And then you do have to kind of rig up a thermostat to it, because if you just turn it on, it's just going to make a big block of ice. And then typically people like put caulking inside because you want it to be waterproof. It's not meant to have water in it all the time. So it's not meant for water. You got to turn it off when you get in, otherwise it could be dangerous. Those are the factors. People do it, right? I'm not going to say it doesn't work. Don't do it. Like, if that's your budget and you can make it happen, if you have the DIY kind of time and energy, you can do it. Obviously, there's a lot of downsides. I'm curious what happened with your friend's situation.
Yeah, so
where they just break too.
One of my good friends is like, his is just constantly leaking. It's like, and now he's gotten to the point where it was leaking so much, and like he couldn't like they would drain it and like recalk everything and like and he couldn't get it working. And now he's buying a new chest, and I'm like, dude, you got to be a couple $1,000s into this already. Like, you should just get a cold plunge. And so that was the main issue. And then the other things that you mentioned from my other friends were, I asked one guy who's doing it, I was like, just send me like whatever research you have and like your Amazon cart or whatever. And I thought it was gonna be a couple of things, and it was like 100 items. I was like, I'm not doing this, man. This is like this is intensive. I can't even hire someone to do it either, because like they're gonna be like, what are you talking about? And so it's super time intensive. I don't like the safety factor. I feel like I probably would electrocute myself somehow in the process. And so those are kind of the cons of what I saw with my friends doing it. But I do have a few friends who've done it successfully, and it's like you said, you did it for a few years, so it's definitely an option. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know how much money you end up really saving. Especially, that's a big thing with buying equipment. Like for a garage gym, like everything I buy for the most part is from Rogue Fitness when we're talking like barbells and everything. And people are like, well, it's a more expensive option. It's like, you have to factor in replacement costs on all this stuff. If you want to go the cheapest route possible, that's fine. But now you're also dealing with a shelf life. Like you have a year, you have 2 years before it's not really a viable option. Then you're going to have to buy everything again or find something better. And I think that you guys have really, figured that out, having tested mine out now for a month. And one thing I wanted to say about it was I was only doing the trough with the ice in the water, right? And I'm in Texas. I never had any sort of thermometer. So I would just fill this thing up with ice, water, get in, didn't really have any protocols. And I was like, this is pretty cold. And, but I never knew how cold. I didn't know what it was. And so when I got yours, I was like, I'm just gonna crank this thing down. I'm sure that's about how cold the water is that I've been putting outside. Nowhere close. I feel like I was probably getting in like 60-degree water at maybe 50, because when I got in at the coldest the Cold Plunge could put out, I was like, I've never been in water like this before, ever. Even when I was like up to my neck in ice, it was not this cold. And so I think that's a huge factor too, is how precise and how cold this thing actually is huge. How hard was that to find like a refrigeration unit that could actually handle this?
Yeah, I mean, the whole process took a long time to figure out, but yeah, the water movement is huge. As opposed to the ice, your body forms a little bubble of heat around itself, whereas with the water down at 39, or you can set your temp, like you're saying, you get the precise dialed in protocol that you want at whatever temperature. But yeah, I mean, 50 at water movement, our whole water kind of circulates like a roll, and that's 50 is cold. Yeah. 39 really cold.
It's the feedback we get them. I mean, it's we didn't anticipate that, but like a lot of Wim Hof instructors have our unit and everything, and they jump to 39, and then they'll email us a week after, like, yeah, we're 50. We're doing our breath work. It's like most people hear 55 to 50, and it doesn't register as like that's really cold. And like now that you know the actual temperature, it's like 50 degrees is really, really cold. And when a lot of people do ice baths, like you point, I don't think we quite have the information of actually, it's probably in that, 55 to 65 actual range, depending on the tap water coming out.
Yeah, that 39 is definitely, that's brutal. That's next level. And another good example of this, my brother, which I wanted to share with you guys. So he is a combat veteran, so multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, had a lot of injuries from that, had been blown up from IEDs. He's missing a large portion of his femur, plates in his elbows and leg and all this other stuff. So I've been training him in my garage for the last several months. When I got this thing, it's just been a game changer for him with his injuries. Like he had no idea. I was like, hey, bro, do you want to try this? He got in, and just the amount of relief from the constant pain he's in every single day, from a cold plunge to the you mentioned earlier, the jolt of energy he got. He's now coming back every day. He's like, can I do it again? And I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, you do it as much as you want, bro. So that's been huge. But the first time he did it, I had bumped it up to 60 because I knew he was going to try it. I texted him about it, and he got in at 60. And then the next day he came back, and I had set it at 48 because I did it that morning. And he was like, I think I'm going to do it again. I was like, okay, just so you know, it's like 12 degrees colder than it was yesterday. And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure I did it at 50 yesterday. I was like, you didn't. You did it at 60. And he's like, okay, I think you're wrong, but I'm just going to get in. And it was just so funny to see him get in. I've never seen muscles simultaneously lower and push themselves out like at the same time. It was like he wanted to get in, but his like knee-jerk reaction was like, I also need to get out. But he eventually got in there. and can only do about a minute, but it's been huge for him. So I think, there are so many benefits to the cold plunge that you guys are talking about. Would you be able to dive into any of those with the listeners on maybe they haven't even been exposed to the benefits of cold exposure at all? Like, what are some of the big pros of doing this regularly?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, some of the science, the sort of like main things that happen in the body is norepinephrine is 3x if you're cold plunging regularly, and that controls so much of your inflammation levels. And then inflammation is like driving chronic pain. It's the key driver in aging. So if you want to, stay young, that's right there. And then norepinephrine also helps with like vigilance and attention. So that's where the focus and like productivity comes from. And then it also increases your mood. And there's also endorphins released, which also help your mood. That's why you get out and you just feel so amazing. And then it spikes your metabolism. So you're going to burn more fat and just have kind of more energy throughout the day. And then I don't know if you want to talk about your experience.
I love the mental override aspect of it. You're talking about your brother getting in there, everything in his body was yelling, get out, and mind, get out. You actually have a response. Like you said, his muscles, you could see it. There's a response that happens, and we do that in our life. Well, the cold plunge is we get to actually train that part of ourselves, where we get to go through that process of body screaming, get out, but we just get to go through it. And there is that magic moment in a plunge, whether it's 60 seconds in, 30 seconds in, 3 minutes in, where our nervous system actually starts to quiet down. And that's a real training to take place and how that plays out into all things in our life. So that's personally my like daily favorite that every morning I'm going through. I did it again today. The moment right before I get in, like, I don't want to do this. Like I throw my little Ryan fit, and it's like, I know I'm going to get in. I know that's a silly part of myself. And then my nervous system calms down, and then it's just, here's off to my day with this amazing, beautiful start. I also think of it as like for people that don't having a meditation practice, you get into the plunge for 2 or 3 minutes, like it's a very different mechanism, but you walk out with that clarity that if you did, I don't know, if I sat for 20 minutes in meditation, I have that level of, I want to say calmness, and I just don't have a lot fluttering in my mind. So it's, I think it's a great avenue for people that don't have a meditation practice. It's very similar to what it's doing coming out of the experience. So those are more on like the mental side of it, but we're still discovering it too. The protocols you mentioned, like that's what I'm excited on. We've been working with Andrew Huberman. We released a metabolism fat loss protocol on our website with him. He's going to be rolling out some other ones with us, but we're learning is there's the intention or the reason you're coming to cold plunging. There's some different ways to do it, dose and duration. So with that, like the time that you spend in there, the reps that you're doing with it, the temperature is going to make an impact. So I think those are all things that we're going to understand more, with us as a company and just with people doing the research over this next 6 months to a year. So I think it's an exciting time. As more people do it, there's going to be more anecdotal data out there. So it's a fun time for us discovering what the cold is doing for us.
Yeah. And I think I love the mental side of what you're talking about too, because it's a little discouraging to know that you've been doing it a lot longer than me and you still throw the fit before you get in every time, because I'm still doing that. Like I sit there, I'm like, I just stand there for a minute, and I only get in for 3 minutes. And then my wife's like, what takes you so long? I'm like, well, there's like a 5 minute of just like, I don't want to do this. and then I do it. And so, yeah, that is something that, but I like that, cause I know doing that over and over again, it builds, that mental fortitude that we all want, that make us better at life, better entrepreneurs, better in fitness, better, at our relationships. And so I think that's a huge benefit that is not often talked about. How about for the both of you, daily practice or protocols? What do you guys do specifically with the cold plunge? On the habitual basis?
Yeah, I think I've gone away from the sauna this summer, but usually I'll do a sauna session prior and just really warm the body up. And then for me, I like my temps right around 46 to 48, right around kind of what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. I like to go in, I like to dunk my head immediately. To me, that makes the process easier. It's like I get a full shock to my body. I come out, it's a little warmer outside, my body regulates quicker. And then I just go through like a breathing process where it's like to the nervous system calm down that I talk about, where I'm just inhaling in, inhaling out, try and make it about 4 to 6 seconds per inhale and exhale. And then I like to rotate the hands are just the most difficult thing for me. It's just, so I try and transition the hands in and out about every 10 seconds, just until it's like screaming to hop out. And then I just go until it varies for me, usually about 3 up to 4 minutes. And it's until I actually can genuinely, there's no real like way for this, but I'm genuinely honest with myself that I've relaxed into the plunge. And I know it's like this game, and I'm probably learning it more and more of what that is for myself. And that's my moment that I step out of the plunge, and then I'll kind of warm up right afterward. But I love just and I like doing a body scan. I like once I've kind of calmed my breath down, really finding like, okay, usually is in my hips area, like where am I tensing up, and just trying to bring as much calmness and relaxation to those areas.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap for sure. I'm probably at a higher temp, more like 55 right now, probably like 2.5 to 3 minutes. I always sauna beforehand. And then after, I'm a big believer in doing like some movement, a lot of like breath of fire, like breathing out. If you ever go to a Wim Hof workshop, they teach you to like get in a squat, go, whoo, whoo. Just really, those breath of fires really heat you up naturally. I feel like is really nice. But yeah, everything Ryan said, the breath, really pay attention to the breath and body scans, and trying to get relaxed in there is really the key.
I mean, I love your book sitting right. It's like Killing Comfort. It's like, you know, that is the work of this. It's like, it's an intentional, it's hormetic, you know, we're choosing to stress ourselves out with the understanding that we're working through the discomfort that's there. And that, to me, that kind of sums up the essence of the whole, my practice in the plunge is just building this relationship with the noise prior of not wanting to get in. And then once I'm in, the tension that naturally shows up in my body, like just dancing with that the whole time.
So you guys both mentioned sauna beforehand. So I have a sauna as well. They're side by side. Any reason you guys are doing them back to back?
I mean, sauna is just clutch, right? Like so much going on there, the sauna. And then I find when I'm really hot, the cold plunge is like calling me to get in. Whereas if I get in straight from no sauna, it's much more difficult for the mind and the body. So
I feel like the blood flows better after a sauna. So again, like because lately I've been getting first thing into my body. It's the shock is so much more intense. You know, I also think it's when you have the contrast therapy, there's different reasons you'd be wanting, like, to me, it's a calorie crunch. Like you're kind of swinging from one spectrum to the other, especially if you're doing reps between the two. That's been my personal experience. I mean, it's like if I'm doing 3 to 4 cycles of sauna to plunge, it's a longer period of time, but I'm exhausted after. That's like it's a workout for the day. Like I genuinely feel like I'm tired. I feel good. But it's an energy. It definitely takes more energy.
Yeah, I did that so I've only done that probably twice now. I've done a lot of the cold plunge, but they're normally at different times, but I did the sauna and then cold plunge, and I went back and forth. But it was nighttime, and I was a little concerned about it because I was like, well, I don't know if the cold plunge is going to kind of like perk me up and I have trouble sleeping, but it was the opposite. I slept like a baby the both times that I've done reps of sauna to cold plunge. And so that was huge. I think I might start doing that more regularly as kind of like a nighttime routine, because it really helps with the sleep. I think it's an awesome benefit.
I think that's like it's not spoken, but my partner's the same way. She gets in, she likes to lower her body temperature, and then she just goes to sleep right away. And I think it is like a newer thing that people are going to start doing, as opposed to the fear of the energy. It's actually calming the body down.
The core body temp is the key, like way you sleep well, right? Whether you get a chili pad or use a cold plunge, you want to be cool at night. Your body typically wakes up once it gets too warm. So
yeah, that's huge. Well, I mean, I'm super impressed with your unit. So I'm in Texas. It's hot here. It's in my garage. Don't let that fool you. My garage has a thermometer in it. It's easily 95 to 100 at all times during the summer, and 39 degrees is of no challenge for the cold plunge. So I did want to talk about just the device, the itself, what you guys have built. I don't think that this was any like thrown together thing. I feel like you guys probably put in a lot of work with the prototypes. Like I said, it's there's just so much into it. The filtration system, the fact that it can maintain the temperature. My water stays like crystal clear, you know, which I was surprised about because I'm not always the cleanest going from a workout to getting in. So it's just been phenomenal. Can you guys talk a little bit more about that creation process, the prototype? Was it hard, or did you kind of just nail it first try, or was there things you had to piece together bit by bit?
There was a lot of like kind of dead end roads I went down, to be honest, that I just had to completely kind of rethink the whole design. But really, like honestly, this thing has been built in my head for 8, 9 years. So I built a float tank from scratch. I did an ayahuasca retreat in South America, came back, did a float, and had the most incredible float. I told myself I have to build a float tank. I need one of these. So I went and did that. And that's obviously like, you know, you're filtering water, you're cleaning water. So learned a lot about plumbing and pumps and how to keep water clean. And then I go to open my spa Reboot, and I've owned, you know, 5 different types of float tanks. I got a Zen 10, an isopod, you know, you name it. Like I've owned so many. I've seen how all these work, and I've invented my own. So my head's been thinking about kind of water filtration and stuff for like a long time. So once I started to do this, it all made sense to me. You know, I understand like water flows, gallons per minute, 5 micron filters, like it all kind of made sense. So I feel like that was a huge head start there. So we basically move a lot of water. We create circular filtration. Base is you want water moving, right? Stagnant water gets algae and growth. And then you want to filter. So you want a really small 5 micron filter. And then we throw UV and ozone at it. So those are just having you use less and less chemicals because they are helping you sanitize the water. So those are kind of the principles I brought to it. And we wanted that result. We wanted people to have clean water with as little effort as possible.
And bring it. I mean, I could speak from the outside. Mike's the brilliance. He's the inventor of this. I watched this happen. And I saw the progression of the unit. I mean, when he first came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" Like I remember seeing the unit, and I didn't quite have the vision for it. I'm not the engineer. It's not my skill set, and I didn't quite have it. And I was kind of on the fence, and it wasn't a yes. And then I show up a few weeks later, and there's this whole new dynamic to it, and that's when it hit me. I was like, wow, this, like, I could see his mind working into the things that he's talking about of what was needed and how it could be iterated and improved. And we've improved it even over this last year with subtle things. I don't think the customers would really know, but just subtle things that, you know, but I got to watch his brilliance like in real time. Like, wow, like this was from in his mind to 3D modeling to initial prototype to a new layer of it to, oh my God, that's going to an actual person and seeing how it actually works. It's been incredible.
Yeah, I think I'm proud of how easy it is to set up. Like that's been a big point for us, is that we really want it to be plug and play. And then also, if you ever have anything break on it, everything's right there and easy to swap out, you know? So that was a piece too. Talking with other people, trying to put pumps and hide them underneath. And we left everything like underneath the panel that is hot swappable. So again, you can get a 6-year warranty through us. And then if we need to send you a part, like you can easily swap it out. So that's another factor we put into it.
Yeah, I was the delivery and the setup, super impressed with. So you guys partnered with FedEx with, I guess, their white glove delivery service. And the guys who delivered mine, look, I've had a lot of garage gym equipment delivered over the years. And to put it in all honest terms, they're normally jerks. The freight guys, they're like, I've had people like, because I have a long driveway, they're like, I'm dropping this, you know, on the road. Good luck. And I'm like, that thing that weighs like 2,000 pounds, man. Like you have the equipment. And I've had those things happen before. So I was a little worried about this. These FedEx guys who deliver it were like, where do you want it? you know, like they took away all the trash. Like it was perfect. And I was even like, are you sure? Like, I'm not accustomed to this level of like someone helping me out. So the delivery was awesome. I haven't quite experienced that. I think the garage gym equipment community needs to get involved in that as well. But to the setup, when I bought my sauna, I mean, granted, it's different. It has to be built. It's a barrel sauna, but that was like a day, you know, that was like, and then I had to wait for an electrician to fit on their schedule for them to even be able to actually use it and hook it up. This thing was like about as easy. Like when I watched your YouTube video for the setup, I was like, it's probably not that easy, right? Like they probably, you know, like maybe I have to like put something together, but it was really that easy. You just like basically plug the thing in, fill it with water, and you're off to the races. So I do want to compliment you guys on that. It was a really easy process from delivery to use.
Awesome to hear. Thanks.
Yeah, great.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think that's about all I wanted to cover. One more question I did want to ask is if someone's looking to get started with cold and specifically, what would your recommendation be? And then also if they're thinking about the cold plunge, your specific product, what would you say?
I mean, showers are the everyone has a shower. It's a way to start. I think it's a very different experience than like fully submerging into cold water, but I think it's a start to just building a relationship with cold water. I always encourage people, whether you have a cold plunge or not, to like find your water areas. Like that's a beautiful process of where is your river, where is your lake, and you know, finding a ritual with that and going down that road. You know, cold plunge, it is a financial commitment. There are people that it's not, you can just, a lot of people, it's a process you want to think through. But like I said, showers are probably the greatest way to start the process. One thing we have noticed with a lot of customers is they haven't really done much cold plunging. They trust that the benefits are there, and it works. Like I'm sure you could say the same thing. So you get a lot of people that when it's a financial commitment like this, you're committing to changing your life. Like it's almost this accountability that you've put into your life. So it's been really cool to see as people taking the step without really knowing, like, I don't know, but I'm into this, man. I'm doing it. I'm going to get uncomfortable. So it's been wherever you're at in your process, there's, you know, whether you just want to find your lake and do that, or just jump right in and get the unit.
Yeah. Our site is thecoldplunge.com.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it there. Mike and Ryan, great guys, great company. They really have, I don't know, I think you nailed it, and to be honest, so good work. And I look forward to using it some more and seeing what you guys do next. Thanks, guys.
Awesome, brother. Thanks, Jerred.
Peace, man.
Cheers.
Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Thanks for listening.